I hope that we don't fail you and the water remains clean. I hope that you won't have to be forced to speak another colonial language to have it be imposed on you in order for you to even live comfortably in your community. I wish that the forests and the air are clean and the wrongs that were done in the past get righted and get compensation and can have good sound governance within each and every community, that you're free to live your best life and in full safety to be able to do whatever you want, whenever you want, and to be proud of who you are and where you come from. Kwe Savanna McGregor Nindishnakas, Kitaganzibi Ndonjaba. I'm Savanna McGregor from Kitaganzibi Anishinabeg, and I am the Grand Chief of the Algonquin Anishinabeg Nation Tribal Council, and also the National Women's Representative for Quebec and Labrador Assembly First Nations. My late grandfather, David Ahenecue, was, I believe, the third National Chief of Canada, and my mother always worked at band offices and worked for West Bank First Nations for their self-government agreement as their senior researcher. So I grew up in the band office, and I would go to meetings with my mom. I would go to dinners with my mom and her friends, and they would be talking work kind of similarly to what we do when we gather in assembly with all of our First Nations across Canada. I went to UBC Okanagan and studied Indigenous Studies, Political Science, and French. And then I went and studied governance through First Nations Tax Administration, First Nations Lands Management, and First Nations Applied Economics. And that opened up a whole new world in regards to my comprehension of how our peoples can reclaim their jurisdiction and self-determination. So my big question that I've always posed myself is, how can I be of service? I feel like the path that I'm on, I was born into in regards to being First Nations. You are born into this reality because you have the Indian Act defining who you are and governing your life. I have a cousin, and 10 minutes before political council elections, he told me to get myself nominated. And I was like, are you crazy? Like, I have 10 minutes before nominations? Like, I've never done this. I did attempt to run for council, and I put my name forward, and then that was intimidating in a way because I was putting myself out there and just taking that chance and that risk. And I guess it helped me figure out my platform on what like my vision is, but also it ebbs and flows because of the realities that your community face or your nation faces. So, and then in my mind at one point I was like, oh, the worst thing that could happen is you can get in and you're gonna figure out real quick how everything works and how it goes, and then you're really gonna have to see what you're made of and what you can provide and offer to be of service to the nation and to your teams that handle all the files. So then I got in by acclamation as Vice Grand Chief, and then sadly, 4 months into the 4-year mandate, our Grand Chief, John Boudreaux, has passed away, and that was very hard and very scary and sad. It was a big loss. And then I realized that I inherited the role. In tribal councils, you don't get much funding at all for the political sector, so we weren't able to afford a by-election. And then it was really up to the chiefs to see what they wanted to do. And fortunately, they gave me a chance to see what I could do. And for the longest time, I did not feel comfortable like calling myself Grand Chief whatsoever, because I didn't feel like I earned it, because it was a responsibility that I had to carry by being elected as vice. So to have that duty and to have their trust, I found that going to school and studying all these different random things that I never thought I would be studying were so helpful to help my knowledge and the way I view the world, because at the end of the day, when I'm in this role, you see my view, but also how my own personal life is, I get mandated by my chiefs, so then we're all working collaboratively together. And if I wasn't me, this would look totally different. So it's really important just to be yourself and to have that confidence. And it's okay to be afraid, and we're here to help. When I assumed the role of AFNQL National Women's Representative, that was probably about 6 months into my term, and I was so curious about what that world looked like. And meeting women from each region, you could really feel the connection, because being in this world, it's mostly been led by men, but who creates men at the end of the day, right? They're mothers, and they have so much power, and there's so much kindness, and they're devoting their lives to politics in order to better their communities and safeguard their culture and values. So it was very, very welcoming right away, and throughout, even within our region, all of our elected women leaders, you walk into the room and everybody's face lights up, or you become friends and sisters, and you go through painful things together, and you get to fight the fight all together. It really is a sisterhood, and it's so welcoming and inviting, because they know that it isn't an easy job, and we have to support one another because of the responsibilities that we all carry in different capacities. I'm just so very grateful to each and every woman that I've met on this path, because it would be very lonesome without them.